Good day, everyone, and welcome to our group discussion. Today, we'll be exploring a very meaningful topic whether humans should be held legally and morally responsible for ensuring the well being and protection of animals. We will discuss this from both ethical and practical perspective. Let's begin with opening position. Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is Nora Kira binti Ramli. My metric number is A24A3568. I will start by saying that I completely agree with the statement. In my view, humans have both a moral and legal duty to protect animals. Many of the threats to animal welfare, such as habitat loss, poaching, pollution, and overfishing, are caused by human actions. When our activities directly harm other living beings, it is only fair that we take responsibility to reduce or repair that harm. Animals are sentient creatures. They feel pain and fear just as we do. They cannot speak or defend themselves, so expecting them to survive without protection is unjust. This is not just a moral issue, but an ethical one that reflects our humanity. If we ignore their suffering, we ignore our conscience. Legal responsibility also helps transform compassion into action. It sets a standard that says cruelty will not be tolerated. In short, I believe responsibility toward animal is not optional. It is a moral necessity and a legal duty.
Okay, before I continue, my name is Nurfakia Auni Medicis Maori. My number metric is A24A3602. So I would like to say that I understand your perspective, but I don't fully agree. While humans definitely cause harm to animals, turning animal welfare into a legal and moral obligation for everyone is not realistic. Governments already face major social problems such as poverty, unemployment, and public health issues. Adding strict animal protection laws could stretch resources even thinner, especially in developing countries. Also, not everyone has direct interaction with animals, so making it a legal duty for everyone doesn't make sense. There's also the issue of cultural and economic diversity. What is considered cruelty in one country might be part of tradition or livelihood in another. For example, in some regions, animal farming or fishing is not just an economic activity, but a way of life. If we impose laws too strictly, they might harm communities that depend on animals for survival. So yes, we should care for animals, but turning this care into a universal legal demand is, in my opinion, impractical and unfair.
Okay, before I respond to that, my name is Aizan Sofia binti Abdullah and my metric number is A24A3589. So, I think moral concern alone isn't enough, which is why legal responsibility is so important. Without laws, many people who abuse animals face no consequences. In fact, many serious cases such as illegal dogfighting or wildlife trafficking are only stopped because there are laws to punish them. So, legal responsibility isn't about forcing everyone to care equally. It's about giving the system power to intervene when clear cruelty happens. When laws exist, they create boundaries for acceptable behavior and promote awareness at the same time. For example, in countries like Sweden and the UK, animal welfare laws are clear and they have helped reduce cases of neglect and abuse. These laws don't stop farmers from working, they just ensure animals are treated humanly. So, legal responsibility doesn't mean restricting livelihoods. It means protecting both animals and ethical human values.
Let me introduce myself first. My name is Nurhariayani binti Haris and my metric number is A25B5320. So I understand your argument, but I still believe strict legal enforcement is not always the best approach. We have to remember that not all mistreatment come from cruelty. Sometimes it happens because lack of awareness, education, or financial capacity. For example, a poor farmer might not have the resources to provide ideal conditions for livestock, but that doesn't make him abusive. If laws become too harsh, they might punish people who simply lack support or knowledge. In many rural areas, people depend on animals for food, work, and income. If animal protection laws increase costs or limit traditional practice, it could push them into poverty. That's why I believe education and support programs are more effective. When people understand value of treating animal well and they have the means to do so, they are more likely to cooperate voluntarily rather than through fear of punishment.
I can see your point, but if we keep excusing harmful action as lack of awareness, we are not really solving the problem. There are cases where people intentionally abuse animals, like illegal animal fight, neglecting pets to death, or using animals for entertainment in cruel ways. Those actions are not caused by ignorance. They are caused by greed and lack of empathy. Education is essential, yes, it's true, but it takes time to change public attitudes. Meanwhile, animals continue to suffer every day. Laws act as an immediate barrier. They send a strong message that animal cruelty is unacceptable. Without them, even the most obvious abuse can go unpunished. So I believe that moral responsibility must work hand in hand with legal frameworks. One shapes the conscience while the other enforces justice. Otherwise, we risk letting empathy stay only as a nice idea instead of real protection.
I understand your frustration, but in many countries, the issue isn't the absence of laws, it's weak enforcement. Even if new laws are introduced, if there's not enough manpower or funding, they won't be effective. For instance, in some countries with animal cruelty laws, cases still go uninvestigated because authorities lack resources. That's why I believe real change begins with community awareness. When local communities take ownership by reporting abuse, promoting kindness, and discouraging cruelty, enforcement becomes much easier. If people don't support the law, they will simply find ways to ignore it. So instead of adding new legislation, governments should focus on strengthening education, public campaigns, and cooperation between citizens and enforcement bodies. That way, the responsibility becomes shared, not forced.
That is a fair argument, but I say that laws actually help build that community awareness you're talking about. When laws exist, they create social norms. They tell people what is right and what is wrong. For example, animal cruelty became illegal in many countries. Public attitudes slowly shifted. People began seeing abuse as unacceptable because the law defined it that way. Education works best when supported by structure, and laws provide that structure. I agree that enforcement can be difficult, but without any legal framework, there's no authority to act when serious abuse happens. So, in my view, education and legislation should work together. Education prevents and law protects. Without both, we'll always be one step behind the problem.
That sounds good in theory, but in reality, many people versus law that seem to interfere with their way of life. For example, some countries ban animal testing for cosmetics. Certain industries push back, claiming it hurt their business. Similarly, farmers may view new welfare standards as too expensive or unrealistic. If animal protection law makes survival harder for certain groups, people will feel attacked and may ignore the rule altogether. Education, on the other hand, helps people understand the reason behind animal welfare. When they see the connection between good treatment and better productivity, For example, healthier animals producing better food, they are more likely to comply willingly. So, instead of punishment, government should promote incentive for human practices that creates cooperation rather than conflict.
I think both sides make valid points. It is true that change takes time and we cannot fix everything with laws alone. However, I believe responsibility requires some level of sacrifice. If we always delay action because it's too hard or too expensive, animals will continue to suffer. Our convenience shouldn't come before compassion. Humans have benefited them for thousands of years for food, clothing, labor, and companionship. So, we have an ethical duty to protect them, even when it's inconvenient. That's the real meaning of moral responsibility.
I agree that compassion is important, but we must also consider human reality. If laws are introduced too suddenly or too strictly, they can cause economic hardship and resentment. When people feel pressure that they may resist instead of cooperating, education allows a smoother transition and help people see animal welfare as beneficial, not burdensome, and in the long run, that kind of understanding creates deeper, more lasting change than legal punishment alone.
I think that's a good middle ground. Perhaps the issue isn't whether responsibility exists, but how it's applied. Legal responsibility can focus on serious, deliberate cruelty, things that clearly cross moral lines, while education can guide people in daily practices like farming or pet care. This way, both humans and animals benefit, and the approach feels fair. In other words, education builds the mindset and law enforces the limits.
Yes, I can agree with that. If the laws are realistic and mainly target serious abuse, while education remains the foundation for everyday awareness, then responsibility becomes balanced and achievable. The danger is when laws ignore local culture or economic differences. So, as long as governments introduce laws gradually and fairly, with proper education first, I think everyone would support that.
Well, to conclude, our discussion shows that animal welfare is a complex and shared responsibility. Humans clearly influence animal well-being, but laws and moral awareness must work hand in hand. We must act not only because it's convenient, but because it is right.
While we disagree on the level of legal enforcement, we all recognize that awareness, empathy, and respect for animals are essential. Education is the heart of long-term change as it builds compassion within society.
A balanced approach combining clear laws and strong education programs seems to be the most effective way forward. When both systems cooperate, society can protect animals while respecting human needs.
Ultimately, protecting animals requires cooperation among individuals, communities, and governments. If we all take part morally and responsibly, we can build a world where both humans and animals live with dignity. That's all from our group for today. We truly appreciate your time and attention. Thank you very much.